Welcome to FOD Overdrive, the podcast that keeps you up on your Friday nights. We're a three-man team that also has a weekly conservative terrestrial program from 3 to 5 p.m. on 94.9 News Now. That's WJJF on your FM dial in Connecticut, Long Island, and Rhode Island. And the show's called Freedom on Deck. To live stream the station and listen to our program, go to FreedomOnDeck.com and click Listen Live, or listen to all of our back shows of Freedom on Deck and FOD Overdrive on the site. You can get daily updated news, contributions from Chet Martin, that's me, Lee Elsey from The Lee Elsey Show, Julio Rivera from The Reactionary Times, and Alex Newman from The New American Magazine. I'm Chet Martin. I'm joined by C.V. Burton. Brian Bro is not with us this week. He should be, but he's not, and that's okay because he has a life, and we all have lives. CV, how you doing, man?
Happy Mother's Day, you mothers.
You mother what's? We're not gonna curse right off the bat, are we?
No.
Before we get into the first topic, I know everybody is probably waiting for us to talk about AG Barr. Not really going to do that. So what happened was Trump blocked the release of the full Mueller report with his executive privilege, which is the same damn thing that Barry Obama did with Fast and Furious and his AG, Eric Holder. Just so everybody knows, let's be transparent. The Dems House Intel panel had subpoenas for the full report and held AG Barr in contempt, not criminal contempt, but in contempt, because they want to keep this thing going on for the next 12 months, right, CV? That's all that this is about.
Absolutely. And they're afraid of Barr, and they're trying to damage Barr's credibility because he's going to come out with a report eventually on all their misfeasance on their side.
Yeah, I agree with you, and also there's a story out there that we're really not going to hit on this week, but you can hear us on FreedomOnDeck.com on Sundays. You, like I said, you click Listen Live at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on FreedomOnDeck.com, and we'll be talking about this scumbag in the IRS that released Trump's tax returns, which it showed he declared bankruptcy, but the media's making a big deal about it, CV, but he wrote about it in The Art of the Deal. All right, you know, you can't make it up. It's like he wrote about it in his book.
It's such crap. It's so full of half-truths, and it doesn't, it cherry picks the information. It doesn't tell you that that was a year that he was expanding his businesses. He was buying up all kinds of, he bought an airport. Airline, I'm sorry. And various other things. And, he uses those as write-offs. And so it looks like he's losing $1 billion, but he spent like $500 million alone on just one acquisition. And he writes that off.
Yeah, and CV, he wrote about it in The Art of the Deal. And later he put out a book that was called The Art of the Comeback. Have you ever read that?
No. That
is about how Donald Trump recovered, and he declared bankruptcy because it was the smart thing to do.
It wasn't even a personal bankruptcy. It was a bankruptcy on one business.
That's it.
And then maybe one or two other businesses. It was like, he owns 500 businesses, and there was a time that all the casinos were going down in Nevada, and they were all
bad.
They were all losing out, and it was just the climate of the times.
And it's so disingenuous for them to bring this up. And whoever released the information needs to be arrested. So hopefully that'll happen, regardless of the fact that he wrote about it in The Art of the Deal. But he did write about it, so it's not any. I knew about that back when I was a teenager. I remember that story.
Yeah, me too.
I remember they did an episode because my mother watched this show called Designing Women.
Yeah.
And they did a whole episode on Trump declaring bankruptcy. And this was before, and they made it in a good light because back then they didn't hate Trump.
Yeah.
Like they do now. You can only imagine what they do now. But It shows you folks how disingenuous they are, how stupid they think you are, and the truth has been out there the whole time. This is nothing Donald Trump has held from you, and if this is what they're releasing with the IRS about his taxes, then you have nothing to worry about, CV.
They pulled this on the last in 2016 as well. I mean, when are they going to learn that when something doesn't work, it's not going to work the next time around? It's like Einstein said, an idiot keeps trying the same thing, expecting different results.
Well, isn't that the definition of insanity?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. Insanity.
Or the definition of the Democrat Party.
Well, I don't know. Insanity and idiocy mean about the same thing to me.
Right. All right, so let's get into topic one now. As all of you may have heard by now, and I'm sure you have, several personalities, including Alex Jones, Paul Joseph Watson, Laura Loomer, Gavin McInnes, Milo Yiannopoulos, and Louis Farrakhan were permanently deplatformed by Facebook on Thursday, the most heavily sanctioned entity being Jones and InfoWars, which was already deplatformed last year. And, you know, CV, they definitely threw Louis Farrakhan in there to make it look good, right? Like, yeah. Oh, look, here, we'll sprinkle Louis Farrakhan in there. And we'll let the Washington Times call him a far right-winger. They couldn't even do it. They couldn't even do it right. They still called him a far right-winger.
Yeah.
Yeah, right wing. The right wing Louis Farrakhan, right?
Yeah. Crazy.
So Paul Joseph Watson, he never broke any of the Facebook rules, CV, but he's an associate of Jones and InfoWars, and he was deemed guilty by association, in my opinion.
Right.
Now, you can be banned from Facebook from sharing stories from InfoWars, and that's actually happening. And the really sick thing is that the usual suspect far-left outlets like BuzzFeed, in full coordination with Facebook, published their stories about this deplatforming before many of the deplatformees were even aware that they had been deplatformed.
Right.
Think about that. That's a crazy transition here. The move was actually rolled out as a celebrity publicity stunt. So we saw that this Nicaraguan-born never-Trumper Republican Ana Navarro, she went on Thursday afternoon on ABC's The View, cheerleading Facebook and commenting about these deplatformees. She said, I want to shut them down. I want them silenced. I want them muted. CV, can you actually play her video real quick? Ana Navarro on The View talking about deplatforming conservatives.
Sure.
It just does make me feel uncomfortable that you have sort of this private organization being able to take away the speech of private individuals. There's just something about it that makes the lawyer in me extremely uncomfortable.
Well, I have no issue with it at all. I want them shut down. I want them silenced. I want them muted. I think they are horrible for our society. And look, the First Amendment argument is very powerful, and it is something that's so unique to America. But it's not unlimited. It's not unrestricted. You know, in law school, you all learn about the screaming fire in a crowded theater.
Right.
If it's something that endangers people, if it's something that's going to end up hurting people, there are restrictions that can be imposed. I think the hate speech, I think we are seeing how much hateful rhetoric is triggering crazy people to do horrible things, and we need to figure out how to stop it. At the end of the day, this is going to get litigated in court. Somebody's going to challenge this,
I think so.
And the courts are going to decide.
Yeah, so you guys can hear there, she says, I want them muted. I think they're horrible for our society. Amazing, isn't it? Now,
her mask really slipped off to show what kind of tyrants the left really are. What kind of totalitarians they are.
And the worry here is, now what I hear is they're going after Laura Loomer's banking.
Yeah.
Her ability to actually make a living. Mm-hmm. So they're not just deplatforming them, they're actually trying to ruin their fucking lives.
Well,
which is wrong.
In all fairness, I think Laura Loomer's exaggerating a little bit, because I did hear her say, well, I can actually go physically to the bank. I just can't use online banking. I don't know, but you know that it's a very insidious thing that's going on here. It's heating up, getting closer and closer to the elections of 2020, and I'd be surprised if you or I are even going to be on Facebook anymore. I think they're going to kick us all out. And
well,
Twitter.
they're certainly on their way with me. I mean, that's been going on for a while, and our buddy Xander Gibb. And I don't think you and Brian have ever been thrown in Facebook jail, but it's, it doesn't feel good, I'll tell you.
No.
And especially when the last time I was kicked off of Facebook was when I said radical Islamic terrorist. Now,
yeah, that was my rule. That kind of broke my rule. I said, as long as you say Islamic terrorist, then you should be all right.
No,
but they still got you.
They still got me.
They have because you were on their radar because you do.
Well, yeah, they have algorithms, and it's probably like, oh, if he says anything about Islam. But you know what? I've gotten to this point, CV, where I really don't care. I have other accounts. If they take me down for good, they take me down for good. I'm not going to stop preaching the truth.
Right.
Like with this show, with FOD Overdrive and what we do on Freedom on Deck on the terrestrial radio, which is on a CBS affiliate, for God's sakes, and we're heard on terrestrial radio. At least we have that. That's one thing we never want to lose in this country. And people say, well, it's a private entity, and they're allowed to select what you can and cannot say.
Yeah, I totally disagree with that.
I do too, and I want to ask you this. If that's the case, then why can a baker not say, I don't want to bake a cake for a homosexual?
Exactly. Well, the difference between a baker not baking a cake for something, for an event which they disagree with on a religious basis, and a social media platform that has a billion subscribers, literally a billion subscribers, who all use it to speak out to their friends, their families, their businesses, and it's become a utility. That is, and the other thing is that it's false advertisement, because Facebook and Twitter all say they're being fair, they're being even-handed, and they're not being biased. So that's false advertisement. That is you could sue them for that, because you can't say, if you own a carpet cleaning company, you can't say, I'm going to come over to your house, and for $30 a room, I'm going to clean your carpets, and then they get there and then they say, well, your carpets are dirty, so we're going to have to charge you extra for soap. No, you advertise clean. How are you going to clean something without soap? You know what I mean? So you could sue the person for that. So they're doing the same thing. It's false advertisement.
What's happening now, what I worry about is this whole inside the Trump administration with the relationship with Dorsey and Trump's son-in-law there, Jared Kushner. They had a meeting a few weeks ago. Well, actually, it was about a month and a half ago, where President Trump expressed his disapproval with the way Dorsey shadow bans and blocks conservatives, and he did.
Right.
But then I was reading more into it on Breitbart, and whether you would take this for what it was, that Dorsey and that little Schmendrick, his son-in-law there, that piece of shit, and I don't like him. I'm sorry, folks. I'm not a fan. They spent more time together, and supposedly Twitter came out with government grants. Now, fast forward to what I just read from MSN, is that Google is actually posted up in the Pentagon right now in order to get information. Now, what we have to do is speak to the president, and I'm sure the president knows what's going on. Of course he does. He's the president of the United States. Yeah. And make sure that he is standing up for us, because these people are putting I don't know what to call it, a block on us in able to continue the MAGA movement. Because here's the thing. whether people want to admit it or not, President Trump won his election through social media. And you know damn well, CV, that happened.
Well,
it's because I've been fighting for that man for going on 3 years now. And before that, I fought for him when he started the birther movement with Barack Obama.
Yeah.
I think we have to somehow come up with a petition in order to tell the president we need to do something about this. It could get bad. It could get really bad.
Well, Zuckerberg and Dorsey feel burned by their own platform. They think their platform was used to elect Donald Trump in 2016, so they're going to say, I get that. Whatever we did to turn the thumb screws on conservatives in 2016, we're going to have to do that like 100-fold harder this time. So that's why I said I would sincerely be surprised if we are still on Facebook and Twitter next year.
Well, the president has to do something about that. When little Kushner is going around and palling around with him, and Ivanka, they're going out to dinner with that piece of shit, that bothers me.
Yeah. Shadow banning is just as bad as deplatforming. It's just as bad, and it's happening
Of course it is.
It's happening on a mass scale. So it's not just these celebrities who are influential, who are all butthurt about this. I've been butthurt about this going back years. I mean,
you should be you should be double butthurt because they're doing it to FreedomOnDeck.
Yeah, I know.
Think about like the numbers we used to reach. Now all of a sudden when I share things, it's not going out to anyone. And like Xander said, I put out the poster that we do for our weekly show on the terrestrial FM dial. And he was like, I tried sharing it. I can't share it. I shared it. It's not showing up. You're shadow banned, bro. And I'm like, well, tell me something I don't know. I'm shadow banned on all 3 accounts that I have. FreedomOnDeck is shadow banned. We have been on Facebook for 4 years, and we have 30,000 people listening to us on the weekends on a given Sunday, and we only have 3,000 likes on our page. Come on.
I know. You know what? It's harder for Facebook and Twitter to deplatform these well-known celebrities who have already, quote-unquote, made it than it is to stop the upstarts from ever getting any traction in the first place. So all these other people who would be household names today, had it not been for their bias, never got out of the gate. They never got a chance because they were shadow banned from the beginning. Nobody knows who they are, and so there's no outcry. So there's so many careers that would have happened, that could have happened, that just can't because of them. They are the gatekeepers, and it's very disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, look what they tried to do to Diamond and Silk. But Diamond and Silk took it to court. Now, what we need Alex Jones and Laura Loomer and everybody else to do, and maybe this is in the works, is get together and actually file a lawsuit against Facebook, against Twitter, against Instagram, and we have to break these conglomerates up. We have to do that, and that's what I'm begging President Trump to do.
And we have to do it fast, too. Because all this litigation stuff takes years and years and years, but the 2020 election's coming up. I mean, I hope that somebody can do something in real time instead of sitting around.
If they start taking us down, CV, if they start taking the little shows like us down, President Trump won't win.
I know.
I'm just telling you. We have to be realistic about this. We have to stop these bastards. And I think he needs to get rid of that piece of shit Kushner. I'm sorry. That guy pisses me off. He's a libtard. Get him out of here. I'm sick of him. Every day with his bullshit. Sitting with George Soros. You see that picture?
No.
Give me a break. What the fuck is he doing with our president? Because he's married to that piece of ass, that's what. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it like it is. He needs to get the hell out of here immediately. Because he's a New World Order scumbag.
I don't know what he's doing. You must be reading stories that I have not been aware of. You said there's a picture of him with George Soros, and then what was he doing with Jack Dorsey?
He's personal friends with Jack
so that
Dorsey.
Even I can understand it. What?
He's personal friends with Jack Dorsey. Jack Dorsey and Jared Kushner have a working relationship. Jared Kushner's firm has investments with Twitter and Jack Dorsey. I can send you all the articles. I can send you everything he has. Now, with Soros, this came last year. He attended a party in Southampton, New York, which is my hometown, and he hung out with George Soros' sons. There's pictures of him and Ivanka and George Soros' son chilling like villains, drinking it up in Southampton. Now, that doesn't mean that they're working together. I'm not saying that. But it certainly raises your eyebrows up.
You know what? I would hope. They're probably, I'm talking about the Soros family, are probably trying to cozy up, so to speak, to Ivanka and Jared Kushner. Because
from what I read,
they're soft and they're easy to approach.
No, from what I read, Jared Kushner's firm also has ties with George Soros and his Open Society.
I heard that part. I'm just saying maybe that they're being invited to these events, and
I think that's
Trump's like, maybe you should go there, keep your enemies close, keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. But I agree with you. I mean, I don't trust them. But they could justify it by saying, "Well, let's just see what they're up to."
That's CV. That is not what's happening here.
No, I'm saying that's what he could be saying. That could be his excuse. But
yeah, it could be his excuse. I think he's a tout brute. That's what I think about him. So I think we need to weed it out, and I'm hoping that Donald Jr. and Eric have said, hey, Dad, don't trust him. He's a piece of shit. Because at least I know that Don Jr. and Eric are conservatives. So I worry about it. I do.
I'm sure they're keeping an eye on Jared, behind the scenes.
I hope so.
They're not going to say anything to embarrass their sister or even the president. So they may be whispering behind the scenes. We don't know. We're not privy to what's really going on with the Trump family.
Well, all I'm saying is that we need to get a hold of this quick.
I agree.
We can't sit on our hands with this. So listen, we'll go to commercial right now. Folks, are you getting frustrated with the trusted conservative sites and magazines turning left? I know I am. Do you really want to read Bill Kristol in the National Review? I know I don't. Is the Weekly Standard supporting our president enough? I don't think so. Instead, go to thenewamerican.com and get your subscription to the New American magazine with a 51% discount on your yearly subscription for both the magazine and online subscriptions. And you can read pro-Trump, truly conservative contributors from our good friend to the show, Alex Newman, Bill Hahn, and so many others. Go to thenewamerican.com. Tell them Freedom on Deck sent you. And that 51% discount, CV, is only going on for the next week. So everybody needs... You better get on it, right? I mean, you read the New American, I read the New American. You actually put this interesting article out a couple days ago, and it was about the possible murder... And tell our listeners about that. It was an article from 2013, right, from the New American magazine.
Yeah, it was.
And it was,
I believe it was actually 2012. It was because
2012.
It was right after Andrew Breitbart was murdered.
Yes.
Well, I think he was murdered, and the article says he was possibly murdered. And then I put up a couple of other links. I mean, underneath that. as comments. One was a video of Andrew Breitbart being questioned about something that Podesta was accusing him of. And he was like, fuck you, Podesta. What's in your closet? We're coming after you.
Right.
We're going to win. And shortly after that, he's walking home from a diner near his house and just falls on his face at 43 years old. I mean... sounds like a Clinton hit job. Yeah, that's why I said my original post was, if WikiLeaks revealed Podesta's emails back in 2012, it probably would have implicated him to the murder of Andrew Breitbart, because it does implicate him to the murder of Justice Scalia and Seth Rich, and I can prove it. And
just so you guys know, the New American Magazine is associated with the John Birch Society, which we'll talk about later. So it's not anything that's far right. It's actually very centrist. It's something we trust. They sponsor us. They got Reagan elected. They got Trump elected. We love them. I mean, it doesn't get any better than the New American, so go to thenewamerican.com. Now, CV, President Trump on Monday, and I love him. I love our president. He signed an executive grant of clemency, a full pardon, to a former Army first lieutenant convicted of murdering an Iraqi prisoner, which is an al-Qaeda terrorist. The White House released a statement announcing Trump's decision to pardon Michael Bahena, who was sentenced in 2009 to 15 years for shooting and killing Ali Mansour Muhammad. The move comes after repeated requests from Oklahoma's Attorney General to President Trump to pardon Bahena. Now, what happened was Bahena was actually engaged in combat with this guy as he was a prisoner in the desert. Somehow this guy ended up setting up some roadside bombs, which I don't know how that all worked out. I could read through the article a little more. But he saved American lives. And he killed this scumbag terrorist. And you know what? As far as I'll say this on record, if he shot that bastard when he was tied up, I wouldn't give a shit. Because he's a scumbag terrorist. It doesn't matter to me.
Right.
But it happened under Bush, and Bush prosecuted him and brought him to military court, which should never happen. Thank you, Bush and your family. And then Obama pushed forward with giving him a very heavy sentence for military and Fort Leavenworth, where he was stationed. Now, President Trump comes like the white knight that he is and pardons him, CV.
I know. And there's probably dozens, if not hundreds more, who were falsely accused. Yeah. I remember that Iraqi war, and I remember our military was fighting with their hands tied behind their backs, legally tied behind their backs. They weren't allowed to shoot unless they were being shot at first, and a lot of other ridiculous rules and regulations. And I saw it even back then. I was like, what are they do? Fight to win, you assholes. I remember that very clearly.
Well, that's the problem. It was the rules of engagement that Jimmy Carter enacted. And it got worse. And it got worse under Bush, believe it or not, than Carter. And it got way worse under Obama. You remember that Obama was actually covering up for Afghan soldiers that were raping little boys. Do you remember that one? It was called Bakabazi.
Vaguely.
Look it up, folks. Look up Bakabazi, which is Bacha, Baza. Look it up. What does it mean? It's an act of an Islamist who molests a little boy. There was one Marine that shot one of the son of a bitches that was doing it, and he's still locked up in Fort Leavenworth. Oh, yeah. I don't have his name. Name with me right now, but that son of a bitch Obama that son of a bitch Obama would rather stand up for a pedophile Muslim than stand up for one of our finest. And finally, we have one of our elected presidents that stick up for the ones that protect us. And I really do hope that Eddie Gallagher is set free. I'll tell you that. That's the next one I want to see pardoned.
Yeah.
We got Chris Saucier. Now we got this fine gentleman. And next we need Eddie Gallagher, CV. You know what? What they should do is anyone that's in Fort Leavenworth for terrorist activities, if they have, let's say they have somehow converted to Islam, which has happened. We remember what happened in Texas. We remember that son of a bitch shooting everybody.
Yeah.
But if you are an American that killed a piece of shit that was trying to murder other Americans, you should be let go, right?
Something similar happened to Adam West. Remember that? He was, I don't know what he was charged with, but he was let go, whatever. And because he was like beating up a terrorist or something of that nature. I don't know the whole story. But then he went on to become a congressman. But then he lost like 2 years later, which was a drag.
Listen, back in WW2, if we had treated the men that stormed the beach of Normandy like we're treating these fine gentlemen, we would have lost World War II and we'd be lampshades.
That's right.
Think about that.
And Obama would have destroyed this country. He would have done so much worse if it wasn't for the checks and balances that we had in place. But you know how the communists take over our educational institutions, our entertainment industries, the internet. They took over, I believe, they somehow took over our military operations. Like the generals, the higher ups. Were all loyalists to globalism and socialism, and they were like fighting wars to lose, not fighting wars to win, going way back.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, Obama did that purposefully.
Yeah.
There are so many examples, and I can't drag them up right now, of underlings of Obama that totally walked away from him because they saw what they were up against. Generals quitting.
Also,
and then he would
generals, put in. Also, generals were being charged with trumped up charges and dismissed over this affair, or he sent an email to this person and it wasn't sanctioned. It was top secret. Or something.
Yeah, they would
like trumped up charges to expunge the good generals, so he could put in his bad generals.
Right. Exactly. He put in a woman in the Air Force who never flew a plane.
Yep.
You figure that out. Everything he did was to weaken us.
Yes,
everything.
That was the whole design.
Everything he did was to weaken us, folks. Now, thank God we have a president that's actually putting forth an effort to put forth an effort for our finest, right? I mean, our bravest, our military, our cops, our first responders. They've never had it so good, believe me. And it's going to get better. And we're going to keep fighting for them. I'm going to tell you about our new sponsors. They're a motorsports team, Midget Motorsports. It's a family-owned and operated NASCAR modified team based out of East Hampton, New York. You'll see them full-time at Riverhead Raceway if you're out on Long Island. Also part-time schedule in the NASCAR Wheelin' Modified Tour. Good old number 4, Corey Midget. He's the driver, entered full-body cars in the Charger division at Riverhead in 2012, and won Rookie of the Year and won a total of 4 races in 4 years. That's a lot. If you don't know, winning 4 races in 4 years is actually a big deal. It's their 4th year in the modified division. The family, Brian Sr., Michael, Brian Jr., and Corey, rely on outside donations. If you're interested in helping this Trump-supporting race team, contact Brian Sr. at the number 516-236-8498. That's 1-516-236-8498. Or you can go to FreedomOnDeck.com and look at their page, which is featured on our site. All profits go to Corey's ability to continue racing. You'll see the Freedom on Deck logo on the car this season in Connecticut and Long Island, along with their Trump sticker and flag. Love it. Look, we're going to be talking about Iran. Okay? Intelligence is showing that Iran is likely moving short-range ballistic missiles aboard boats in the Persian Gulf, and was one of the critical reasons the U.S. decided to move an aircraft carrier strike group and B-52 bombers into the region, according to several U.S. officials with direct knowledge of the situation. We went into the Persian Gulf. Now, CV, Iran's threatening to continue development of uranium. And when I saw that, and NBC was like, they're going to notch up their efforts, and I'm like, they were developing uranium the whole time, you assholes. They broke that fucking dumb deal with Obama about 1 million times since it was insurrected under Barry, and he sent them a pallet full of billions of dollars. CV, they're trying to paint this like this is Trump's problem. It is not, is it?
Yeah. Well, you know, his top advisor, who's still his top advisor, living in his house to this day, a few blocks away from the White House, Valerie Jarrett. Her family was from Iran. She has loyalties to Iran. And this is another perfect example of Obama trying to weaken us and enhance our enemies. And that whole Iran deal was meant to give them nukes, not prevent them from getting nukes. But it looks like they try to paint the picture as if this was our inspectors get to go there, but they have to give them 2 weeks notice before inspectors can even go in there.
And it's not even our inspectors, it's the UN.
Oh yeah, the UN.
It's not even us.
The UN hates us.
I mean, the UN hates us, and John Kerry has the nerve to stand up there, well, we're taking action against Israel, and this was a few years ago. And, another thing that I will say is Donald Trump is not happy with Iran right now because they are funding Hamas, and Hamas has been sending rockets out of Gaza into Israel, and that's been notched up here. I think that has something to do with this move. And what I want to see happen here is I want us to push back on them to the point where they're shaking in their boots. Because this regime, this Mueller regime, as Ted Cruz would call them, the Khamenei, which he is absolutely right. We don't call them the supreme leader like Obama does. We don't do that. No, we don't. No, we don't. We call them the Khamenei, or we call them the mullahs of Iran, which is what they are. They've been starving their people, beating their women, hanging people, chopping people's heads off, tons of human rights violations, and they've been attacking Israel and funding Hamas. What we need to do is make them know that that is no longer welcome. President Trump is not Jimmy Carter, and he's not Barack Hussein Obama.
That's right.
Sive.
That's right. It's so refreshing.
What do you think's going to happen here?
I'm not a military general. I'll leave that to them. But I do like Trump's policy of building up our own military so powerful that our enemies would be afraid to even try anything. Also, we're sending out, our aircraft carriers over there and, B-52s and things like that. If they lift a pinky against our troops that are stationed out there in the Middle East, Trump is going to give them what for? That's what I think. Yeah,
because Trump actually has hired some real generals.
Yes.
that have seen wartime. He knows that that's the way you win.
Yep.
You don't win by being a bitch. I mean, listen, I don't even think it. This is the thing. A lot of people say when I talk to them, CV, and a lot of people that listen to the show, and big shout outs to some of our good friends and Marine veterans in East Hampton and Montauk that listen to our podcast and our show every week. Our buddy Jeff, who's got a car show going out in the East End of Long Island, loves the show, listens to us. We're so honored to be listened to by some heroes that you guys are our heroes. We don't deserve it, but we thank you for it.
We are not worthy. We are not worthy.
We're scum. We suck. But the thing is, and Jeff told me, I was talking to Jeff the other day because I created this banner for the car show, and he was talking to me about Trump, and he was like, it feels so good to have a president that cares about us now.
Yeah.
And he said, that alone has helped so many veterans that may be contemplating suicide or thinking that they have no way to go, that there's nothing for them. Now they see that they have a president that stands up for them. Because that piece of shit for 8 years didn't. That piece of garbage, Barack Hussein Obama, he loved it when they killed themselves, I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Unreal.
That's an excellent, excellent point that I didn't think about. That their morality is boosted by a president who loves our country. And, under Barack Obama and previous presidencies, the VA were actually abusing our vets because they would have people in charge who are lefty socialist scumbags who hate our military. So go ahead.
And McCain, by the way. What about all the controversy McCain created as heading up the VA in the United States government? Everybody says don't say a bad word about him because he served. Well, he created some of the most dirty politics in that Veterans Association that you'd ever want to know. Read up on it. It is not hard to find.
I will.
It's and I'm telling everybody that's listening, read up on it. The enemies of America are very clever. They are. It's just like they tell you, don't say anything about John McCain. Don't say anything about John Kerry because they served. Some of these people are the biggest liars that they are. John Kerry was Swiftboat. He lied about. He lied in order to gain a Purple Heart, and then they tell you don't say anything about that. Yet he threw his Purple Heart over the White House lawn, right? Yeah. He didn't love America. He went there on suggestion of the Kennedys. Now, the Kennedys, the days of the Kennedys are far and gone from the Democrat Party, CV. It no longer exists. Mm-hmm. But it was during that time in the 1960s where John Kerry came around is where the Democrat Party got poisoned by the communists. It's always been the communists, and now they have risen to a point that is unforeseeable in the future. And I'll tell you, I was really disturbed because communist Bernie Sanders did a Q&A roundtable, well, not a roundtable, whatever you call it, town hall, right?
Yeah.
A few weeks ago on Fox News, and I was just watching Fox News on Wednesday, and they had that Amy Culafart, whatever her name is, and they're doing a town hall with her. I haven't seen them one time with Trump or Mike Pence or Ted Cruz, but they have now all of a sudden you see Disney's bought Fox up. Now all of a sudden you're seeing a leniency to the left. It's happening.
Yep, little by
really
little,
fast,
incrementally. There's some holdouts still there, like Judge Jeanine and Lou Dobbs on Fox Business, who I love. There's a few good ones left, But
they'll get rid of them.
You reminded me of something that, you were talking about McCain and the VA. And when you see certain politicians, leaders in high positions doing unscrupulous things, that's only the smoke. There's fire under there. The more you look into it, the more you see there's a culture of anti-Americanism trying to undermine our country. People who pretend to be patriots, people who steal valor, say they were in Vietnam fighting for our country. You've been fighting against our country your whole life, you stinking liar. I'm talking about Blumenthal, talking about the whole lot of them. And it's even worse than that. You go behind closed doors and you don't know what they're doing. You don't know if they're involved in satanic rituals and other disgusting things involving children and animals.
Let me tell you something about Dick Blumenthal. First of all, he's a piece of shit, and our buddy Colonel Rob Simmons, who's heard on the morning show on our channel, 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk, WJJF, the show's called Lee Elsey. Colonel Rob Simmons talks about Dick Blumenthal. And the fact of the matter is Dick Blumenthal lied about his service. He did serve. He never went to Vietnam. He married his sweetheart when he was in his 30s and she was 16. Check it out for yourself. Now, he has the nerve this past week or a week and a half ago to talk about A.G. Barr and say he's a liar. Now, for somebody that lied about their service in Vietnam to call someone else a liar is drop dead ridiculous.
Oh, totally.
Come on. How can Democrats support these people? And CV, he's been in power in Connecticut for a long, long time.
Yeah.
30 years.
They remind me of the Pharisees and the Sadducees in the time of Jesus when they were calling Jesus a liar. Oh, that's blasphemy, they said. They tore their shirts. They're the liars. They're the murderers. They're working for Satan himself, in my opinion.
They're the ones abusing the women. They're the ones abusing the children.
Absolutely.
They're the ones using the folks coming in through the southern border as pawns. They know these children are being raped. They know they're being sold to sex traffickers. They don't care. They don't care.
Nope.
Why don't they ever talk about it if they care? You'll hear it on Freedom on Deck. You'll hear it on Michael Savage. You'll hear it with Andrea Kay, a friend of ours out of San Diego. You'll hear it with Mike Gallagher. You'll hear it with Lee Elsey. But will you ever hear it on MSNBC? Will they ever talk about child sex trafficking? No. Why not? Why? Because that paints a light on what's actually happening on the southern border. It's not only a threat to us, it's a threat to them, and they know it.
Right.
There are drug cartels coming in through the southern border, and there are ISIS members coming in through the southern border. We've had tons of experts on with who are patrolling the southern border on our terrestrial show that have said just that.
Yeah. And just a couple of days ago, 31 people were arrested in Georgia for a multi-state child exploitation operation. And these kind of arrests are commonplace under the Trump administration, but they were nowhere to be found under Obama as far as I know.
Well, we're actually, this week, we're going to have Gordon Vidal, who has a show on 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk on our station. And he has brought up the statistics of Trump versus Obama with arrests with child sex trafficking. And he knows the numbers. And it is a stark contrast. Big time.
Right.
Trump is kicking ass when it comes to child sex trafficking.
Yep.
And, I think that Obama, I can't say for sure that it's because Obama supports it, but I think probably the people that donate to him do.
Well, I think that's why Biden has his hands all over children all the time, because he thinks it's normal. Because these are the people he hangs out with. And I'm sure he goes to these meetings.
Yeah, he's a sick fuck, isn't he? All right.
I just laugh at the way you say things. It's not, we're talking about serious subjects, but if you hear me laughing, I'm not laughing at the subject. I'm laughing at the way Chet says things.
Well, he is a sick fuck. But anyway, okay, folks, one more commercial, one more topic. The John Birch Society helped America elect President Reagan in 1980 and President Trump in 2016. They've rallied the conservative base for over 50 years. Go to jbs.org and join up and receive a good conservative group behind you. JBS has affiliates like the New American, American Opinion Foundation, Freedom Project Media, and Freedom Project Academy. Print membership is $87. Digital membership is only $47. And, being a member of JBS, as I am, is an honor. I mean, Kip Webster himself has called me many times, booking the guests that we get on our terrestrial program, like Alex Newman. And it's a family unit. These people really stick up for conservative values. And man, are they behind President Trump. I mean, God bless them. Thank God we have the John Birch Society. Because I'll tell you this, President Reagan and President Trump would have never won without the John Birch Society. They had a big deal to do with that, CV. So we can't tell you enough. Become members. If you can afford it. If you can't, there are at least outlets out there on jbs.org where you can watch podcasts, you can read the articles, and you can get all that stuff for free, actually, but they do like your membership, so think about doing it, okay? Now, I wanted to get into this shooting, CV, that occurred in Denver.
Okay.
It was 20 years later, after Columbine. It was only a few weeks later, okay, and these two creeps went in and they shot up this school.
Yeah.
So far, it's only one fatality. They're a bunch in critical condition, as far as I know. Now, some people may be listening and say, you got that wrong. I'm sorry if I did. But the 18-year-old that was accused in the fatal shooting at the charter school in Colorado shared social media posts that were critical of President Trump and Christians, but hailed praise on Barack Hussein Obama.
Mm-hmm.
On what, and this is coming from the New York Post, just so you all know. This is not from InfoWars, okay? Just so you know, this is from the New York Post. On what appears to be his Facebook page, Devin Erickson gave no indication of the carnage to come at the STEM school Highlands Ranch. The shaggy-haired teen filled his page with posts about the Denver Broncos, playing paintball, and appearing in community plays like Les Miserables and Legally Blonde. A day after the election day in 2016, he shared a video from Seth Meyers' late-night show blasting Trump and groused about Christians in another post 2 years earlier. You know what I hate? All these Christians who hate gays. Yet in the Bible it says in Deuteronomy 17:12-13, if someone who does not do what their priest tells them to do, they are supposed to die, Erickson wrote in May 2014. It is plenty of crazy stuff like that, but all that you get out of it is ew, gays. Erickson also shared a pro-Obama post from Occupy Democrats in 2015. In just 6 years, I nearly tripled the stock market, cut unemployment in half, ended 2 wars, cut the uninsured, which this is all bullshit, cut the uninsured rate in half, bought gas down to $2.75, and cut the annual Bush deficit by Yeah, he was always blaming Bush. Oh, and I got Bin Laden. Read the post, which features a photo of Obama. The Facebook page indicates Erickson liked music. I don't care about that. He liked a bunch of punk music.
Yeah.
He liked South Park. And it just basically says that he was anti-Trump. He was anti-Christian. He was pro-liberal. Now, are we going to hear that from CNN, CV?
No, just like we haven't heard what was the motivation behind the Las Vegas shootings. We're never going to hear that. You know, the only time they dig into the reasons behind something is if, Muslims get shot, which is so rare, it's almost not even worth mentioning. You know, it's just another example, in my opinion, of the media, pushing people who live on the edge of sanity into horrific acts. And I bet the people in that school who were really targeted, were probably Trump supporters, in my opinion. I can't prove it.
Probably.
But they would never admit it even if it was true.
Well, the thing is, I will say this. Muslims are attacked, but it happens in the Middle East by other Muslims.
Exactly.
That's when it mostly happens, folks. Most Muslims that are attacked are not attacked by white supremacists. Just so all you good liberals know, probably it's like 10-1 or more. Most Muslims that get killed in the Middle East are killed by other Muslims, and probably over in Europe too. So don't be foolish. You people are sick, because I've read stories coming out of Europe where a father will kill a Muslim girl because she disobeyed, and out of the United States of America too. Did the left say anything about that? Do they say, oh my God, did you see this Muslim father killed his daughter for violating their family's name? No. And then when you see a leftist like this piece of shit over in Denver, do what he did. They never, ever talk about the politics. What happened when Scalia was gunned down by that Bernie supporter who actually worked on the Bernie campaign and said he wanted to kill Republicans? What happened? Nobody talks about it.
Yep.
They don't say... They always go to gun control, CV. What we need to have is Democrat control.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. The new terrorists that we're afraid of now is not the Islamic kind. It's the lefty kind.
It's amazing. They always say, oh, the right that are going out and shooting everybody.
That's total bullshit.
It is bullshit. It pisses me off because that guy in New Zealand was a fucking communist.
Yep.
And that other kid that went out and shot everybody up last week or a week and a half ago, and I'm drawing a blank of where it was. He was not a Christian. People are trying to say he was a Christian. He hated Christianity. Every time you read their manifestos, they hate Trump.
Yeah.
But the media won't tell you that.
It's funny it's funny that they're calling him a Christian and he's not. But the people who were shot up in Indonesia, I mean, not Indonesia. You know where I'm talking about.
New Zealand?
No. Sri Lanka?
Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
That were blown up.
They were Easter worshippers. They're not Christians.
Right.
But then somebody who does a terrorist act who's not a Christian, now he's a Christian. He's not an Easter worshiper.
Well, think about that. An Easter worshiper. This is coming from Barack Hussein Obama and Hillary, only a minute apart. So it shows that they were told to call them Easter worshipers by someone else.
Yeah. Or they were having a conversation beforehand themselves with each other.
I don't know that they like each other, even though they're both Satanists. I don't think they like each other. But, it's interesting to see that the media will shun a story like this because it's not a white supremacist, right?
Right.
Like, if this kid had a MAGA hat on and forget about it, right? It'd be all over the place. And, I'm not saying that can't happen because there's a bad apple in every bunch. There is. Right. But so far, I'm sorry, that hasn't happened.
Right.
That it hasn't happened. Show me one case where it has. Anybody out there listening to us, send it to freedomondeck@gmail.com. Show me where there's one case of somebody that went and shot everybody up in the name of Donald Trump. You will not find it.
See, they try to, with their propaganda, leftist propaganda, they try to paint Trump and his supporters as Nazi KKK terrorists who hate people based on the way they look or their race. The only reason Trump wants to close the border is to keep the brown people out. And, this whole false narrative is a false narrative. But in reality, Trump supporters and patriots, all they want is a fiscally responsible government. They want national security for their children, their prodigy, and all their countrymen to live in safety, and they want a good economy, and they want to live a good life.
They want safety for the veterans and the police and the first responders, which we need to have.
There's nothing wrong with any of that. But they try to, the propaganda artists and the media try to paint us as monsters. And, the wall is really just to keep the monsters out. That's what the wall is for.
I hate them. I loathe them. They are so disgusting. They are lower than the most minute parasite that you can find. They are.
Yeah.
They're disgusting.
100%.
But, let's end the show with a bang.
Really? We got to go already?
Well, we have a really good show coming up this Sunday, CV, and I want to tell everybody where they can go listen to it. Make sure you go to freedomondeck.com where you can listen on this live stream, or you can get the 949 News Now app, which is in the Apple Store. You can go there. Get it before it's taken off. Did I tell you this? I was talking to Lee today. Lee Elsey, the morning show guy.
Yeah.
You used to be able to say, Alexa, play WJJF, and it would.
Yeah.
Did I tell you that now it doesn't?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they took it off.
Huh. Alexa's listening to us around the clock. I mean, I don't own one, but I know that our phones are just our Alexas also.
Everything is an Alexa. Everything's an Alexa. But anyway, so this weekend on 949newsnow.com, if you want to go listen to us from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Karen Strawn coming on. She's from Men's Right Edmonton, and it's interesting. She's a woman who's a men's right activist, and that's a good thing. We're actually going to be talking about Joe Biden and his pedophilic behavior, so that's going to be a good discussion. And we have Gordon and Christine, and they're from Justice for All. They have a show on Sundays on 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk, and we're actually going to be talking about the numbers that Trump has been accumulating with sex traffickers and the child sex industry.
Right.
And Gordon, he does extensive search on this stuff. He's going to tell you, black and white, not gray. He's going to tell you the difference between Trump and Obama, and it's staggering. Trump is doing a great job. Gordon's got the numbers. He's going to tell you what's up, and we're going to see you 3 to 5 on Freedom on Deck. CV, I'll see you on Sunday, brother.
I'll check you out then.
Friday night we'll be drinking Manischewitz, going out to terrorize Goyam. Stop and shake it, screwing chicks as long as we're home by 7.